America is wealthy. There's no getting around it. The country boasts one of the world's greatest GDPs and has played an important role in the global economy. But once at a time, this prosperous country was confronted with a circumstance that utterly depleted its resources. 1/4 of the workforce was laid off. How, though, is the question. Hello, folks. Today we will go back to the time when America lost almost all its economy.
Worst of the stock market panic, in my opinion, is over. It had to come. Speculation had become crazy.
Black Tuesday. The New York Stock Exchange is in a panic. Frantic investors have scrambled to unload their stocks at any price. Everyone wants to sell. No one wants to buy. Suddenly, even the most gilt-edged securities are practically valueless.
But why did it happen? What was the reason? How did the country recover? Let's find out. The United States saw extraordinary economic and social progress throughout the 1920s, which was characterized by strong speculation and a thriving stock market. The Roaring Twenties were a period of prosperity. During this time, many people got wealthy, and even though the economy began to slow as a result of the post-World War II slump, the stock market was still thriving. This false sense of security was further reinforced by the introduction of margin accounts, which allowed investors to purchase stocks with only a modest down payment, allowing many who couldn't otherwise afford to participate in the market. The stock market plummeted on October 24, 1929, when the panic reached its apex. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell over 13%, wiping out billions of dollars in stock value and triggering a chain reaction that would eventually lead to huge unemployment, destitution, and economic hardship for millions of Americans. This is now referred to as Black Thursday. The crash had an impact on the U.S. economy. Many investors were wiped out, unable to repay the debts they took out to participate in the stock market. Banks that had made loans to investors were suddenly saddled with billions of dollars in bad debt. This, in turn, generated a credit crisis, making it difficult for firms to obtain the financing they needed to stay afloat. The economic fallout induced by Black Thursday spread fast across the country. By the end of 1930, about 1 in every 14 Americans was unemployed. This figure would climb steadily over the next few years, reaching more than 25% in 1933. The stock market fall signaled the start of the Great Depression, and its consequences were disastrous for the U.S. economy, an era of poverty that America had never seen and will never see again. The Great Depression was a period of economic slump that lasted from 1929 through the late 1930s. It is regarded as one of the most severe financial crises in contemporary history. As a result of the Great Depression, there was widespread unemployment, poverty, starvation, homelessness, and economic stagnation. It was also a time of immense social upheaval, as people lost trust in the government and the globe appeared to be spinning out of control. The Great Depression had far-reaching consequences for the world economy. It resulted in a catastrophic drop in the value of equities and the collapse of the U.S. banking system, as many banks were unable to repay their loans. As a result of the ensuing economic crisis, businesses were forced to lay off workers, leaving millions of people globally unemployed. Millions of people had to leave their homes and migrate to other cities to find a job. For accommodation, many shanty towns were built from cardboard boxes, old cars, and other scrapyard materials. But all these efforts bore very little fruit, as those who were local also struggled to get work in their own city. Talking of locals, don't believe that this crash affected just America. Its effects were worldwide. The global economy was badly hit by the Great Depression, and suddenly many countries saw a drop in international trade. This resulted in deflation, or falling prices, as demand for goods fell and businesses were forced to lower their prices to remain competitive. As a result, countries all around the world saw their GDPs decrease and unemployment rise. The Great Depression had profound social, political, and cultural consequences in addition to its economic consequences. Many people's psychological health suffered as a result of the crisis, with higher levels of stress, sadness, and worry. Furthermore, the crisis fueled populism, as many began to question the government's legitimacy and ability to properly handle the economy. America's recovery from the 1930s global slump was a long and laborious process. To resurrect the economy, the United States had to take extreme actions. In 1933, newly elected President Franklin D. Roosevelt established the New Deal, a set of economic reforms and government initiatives aimed at giving unemployment relief, increasing the economy, and restructuring the banking system. The Civilian Conservation Corps, which provided jobs to the unemployed, the Social Security Act, which provided a safety net for the elderly, disabled, and unemployed.
This Social Security measure gives at least some protection to 30 millions of our citizens who will reap direct benefits through unemployment compensation, through old age pensions, and through increased services for the protection of children and the prevention of ill health.
And the National Industrial Recovery Act, which aimed to increase wages and prices in order to stimulate the economy, were all part of the New Deal. The New Deal was successful in bringing about some economic recovery, but the economy did not fully recover until the United States entered World War II in 1941.
In the Pacific, in mortal combat against a fanatic foe, the Kamikaze Corps, the Japanese pilots who rode the divine wind to certain suicide and possible devastation of our ship.
The conflict resulted in a tremendous increase in goods production, which led to an increase in employment, earnings, and prices. Furthermore, the federal government raised defense spending, which helped to invigorate the economy. The United States saw remarkable economic expansion in the post-war years. This was due in part to the government's policy of encouraging free trade and foreign investment, which contributed to the creation of a global economy in which goods and services could be freely and effectively transferred. Furthermore, the federal government maintained a fiscally responsible policy, which helped to keep inflation under control and promote economic stability. This time, dubbed the economic miracle, was largely attributed to the government's commitment to free trade, foreign investment, and fiscal restraint. Furthermore, technological developments aided in the creation of new industries and increased productivity in the United States. As a result, the economy expanded until the early 1970s, when rising oil costs and inflation precipitated a recession.
We are confronted with the problem of inflation.
Inflation is our friend.
Everybody feels very poor.
There's a lot of people that just aren't making it.
It's a tough problem.
The question is, how long will this go on?
The recovery of the United States from the Great Depression was not immediate. To resurrect the economy, bold government policies, technological improvements, and fiscal responsibility were required. While the recovery was not immediate, it eventually led to a period of steady economic expansion that established the groundwork for the post-war years' prosperity. We want to say they learned from their mistake, and such a collapse never happened again. But 2008 proved otherwise. Want to know why that happened? Check out our video on it and find out.